Welcome back to Type Over 40 on the Spacebook channel on YouTube with me, Dan Hadley, and this fella, and that fella, this fella, my friend Simon Horn. Hello, Simon, you okay?
Hello, Dan. How are we doing? Are you still staying safe and everything from coronavirus?
Well, we're isolated. Myself and Rosie are isolated here. You in isolation over there?
Absolutely, yeah. I'm in lockdown here. Feels a little bit like anybody that's seen the last half of the Silurians. It feels a little bit like that. It feels like the Silurian plague is out there.
Yeah. Bad times, but we still have Doctor Who. We still have webcams and mics and things like that. So we can still have a laugh, can't we? And bring you another video because people have been asking, people have been sending messages in. Thank you very, very much. We're going to get round to some of those in a moment. We hope you're all keeping safe. Relax for a bit of our usual kind of silliness.
You see, actually, I mean, this is the kind of stuff that we always do anyway. We're always isolated, Dan. You and I, we're always on far sides of it. We're not too far away from each other, but nonetheless, we're far sides of the county.
No. And this is
and so we're always self-isolating. So it's business as usual here, I guess, really.
We certainly were on the most recent podcast we recorded, but some more of that in a moment. Yes, so since it's been a while, I think it's time for this, upside down.
And I have my Doctor Who quiz book handy. I've got my quiz book. You see, even when the zombie apocalypse is kicking off, we can still amuse ourselves with the Doctor Who quiz book, can't we?
There's always a head full of Doctor Who trivia to plunder and grovel around in for 5 or 10 minutes, isn't there? You know, keeps the old grey matter alive. Keeps the
absolutely.
Working, yeah. Some people would put it to practical use, but no, we don't. We want questions about the Zarbi, don't we? So yeah, we'll see what's in this. Give it a shake. Give it a shuffle. Shake and shuffle. Sounds like a dessert.
I've got a question ready and poised ready for you as well.
Oh, here we are. It'll come to a point where I'll pick out the same card that we've had before.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I have to be honest, in the quiz book, I am going through in order. So far, we're up to question number 8 for you, Dan. Go on, are you going first?
Yes, I am. I think, yeah.
Hit me with it.
Which Doctor appeared in the Tomb of the Cybermen?
It's a tricky one, isn't it, that? It's a tricky one. I don't think I need the rest of the question.
I think we should give him a second one.
For anybody that is actually wondering out there, it would obviously be Patrick Trout. And if you are wondering, I think you're probably watching the wrong podcast.
Here's question number 2.
Okay.
We've had that one before.
There you are, you see.
There you go. We've jinxed it now. We've had that one before. Okay.
Maybe there's only 5 questions in the packet. I don't know.
Okay. Where can the Zero Room be found?
Where can the Zero Room be found?
Yeah.
In the TARDIS. Yeah. In the TARDIS. Yeah. As seen in Castrovalva. I don't think it's seen in anything else apart from Castrovalva, is it, the Zero Room?
Not that
Somebody might correct me on that.
Not that
I think it appears. I have a feeling it appears in. It appears in some. I think it might be in some Big Finish stories. I think they go into the Zero Room.
They've been everywhere else.
They've been everywhere else. But Castrovalva, and interestingly, I mean, that's one of those things that Christopher Bidmead was really passionate about, was exploring more of the TARDIS. And that's why you get a lot of it in season 18, and then he does it again in Castrovalva. He just was really interested and fascinated by what lies beyond the console room. That was one of his obsessions. So there we go.
When you come to mention it, I hadn't looked at it like that. I hadn't heard him say that. But that certainly is one of the things that held my attention. We've spoken before about season 19, how much it meant to me, you know, right from Peter Davison starting.
Yes.
The TARDIS, it all just seemed more fascinating than ever. You know, it really worked on me. I view the show in the same way.
He definitely does a lot more with it. And of course, you know, one of my favourite stories still is Legopolis. And I just love what he does with the TARDIS in that. And then, of course, the third story that he wrote was Frontios. And in that one, he literally breaks the TARDIS into pieces and shatters it. So again, he just had this real fascination and almost an obsession with seeing what the TARDIS could do, stretching its limitations.
I hadn't looked
And
at that way, but after that point, it does go back, doesn't it? It goes back to what
mm,
it was before. And we just get pretty much just get the console room. There's a scene in
that's
this
right.
bedroom in Terminus, and that's about it. Oh no, laboratory.
Yeah, laboratory, but that's it. It does kind of go back to normality, and because I have something of an obsession with the TARDIS, and I love all the different aspects of what is out there. I love that when they bring that old wooden vintage console room in series season 13, isn't it? No, 14 that's about to come out on Blu-ray. I love that. I remember as a child being just in awe of that wooden console room. But then I loved when it went back to being the traditional console room. I love that, all that exploration of the TARDIS.
We're going to go down a bit of a rabbit hole now. While we're on the subject, then I
Yes.
never really realised that, but when that wood console room appeared, you weren't disgusted with it. You weren't appalled. You were.
No, which is odd, really, because how old would I be during season? I would have been about 10 at the time that season 14 went out. And no, I can distinctly remember. I can still remember it now when the Mask of Mandragora opens and the Doctor and Sarah are going down the very recognisable TARDIS corridors. Although, again, I'm going to go out on a bit of a limb there, and I'm wondering if that's. We're really going down a rabbit hole here. I'm wondering if that's the first time we ever see TARDIS corridors. We see, in the William Hartnell days, we saw a couple of extra rooms, bedrooms and things in the first season. I'm just trying to think if that's the first time we ever actually see a TARDIS corridor, and it might be. But no, I remember that. And then when they discovered this console room, made all out of wood. No, I absolutely loved it. I think because it was still so recognisably the TARDIS console room, it was just basically a console room, but now made out of wood. And so I just found that just totally fascinating. And in many ways, I was disappointed then when they actually went back to the old white console room, because I just loved that wooden console room. I still love it.
Baker's Doctor really well, doesn't it?
Yes. I don't know as it would have suited any other Doctor, really.
No,
it just works really well with Tom Baker.
And by the time I got into the show, it was something that was long gone. So, some of you may feel this too. So it was just something that I only ever saw pictures of for years and years and years, until the VHS releases got round to putting out some of the stories with it in. So it really was a curiosity for me. And I bet it was only ever used in about 5 or 6 stories. I can't.
Yeah, probably was. Only half a dozen stories. But then, of course, interestingly, they kind of revisit that design to an extent in the Paul McGann movie. They sort of come back to it to an extent. Yeah. It's definitely informed the Richard Hugheling TARDIS from the movie. It's definitely informed by that. I think it's Barry Newbury. I think I'm right in saying it's Barry Newbury designed that wooden console room, and of course he'd worked on An Earthly Child right back in the beginning. He hadn't designed the original console room, but he'd worked on the original story. So I just loved the fact that it was him that redesigned it and reinvented it. Really, that was the first reinvention of the TARDIS console room.
I like how everything's sort of slightly opposite with it. How the screen's on the other side of
yes.
where the console is to where it usually, just for when we watch the show, just to. So it's not the same space. It's not the same room given a makeover. It is somewhere else, and it feels like somewhere else too. It feels like out in the shed or in a study or in a loft or in the bay. It just feels different. Yeah, I really like it. God, that was We've got to
right. Would you like a question?
Yes. Go on. Hit me with them.
Here we go then. Okay. In the Happiness Patrol and the Armageddon Factor.
Yeah.
That's an interesting question. What links the Happiness Patrol and the Armageddon Factor? I'll tell you. There are mentions of the Doctor's nickname when he was at college. What is the Doctor's nickname when he was at college?
It's Theta Sigma.
Indeed, it is Theta Sigma. Well done.
Because there's a character called Trevor Sigma in the Happiness Patrol, isn't there? That John Normington.
Yes, there is actually. There is actually. Would you like another question? I'm going to give you another one because I'm just there.
Roll.
What was the name of Stephen Taylor's panda mascot? This is from The Chase. This goes back to a William Hartnell story, The Chase.
Now I always forget this. I always forget. I'm
going to try to do the.
I was going to say. I was going to say Lulu, but that was the elephant that dragged that dragged either Peter Purvis or John Noakes through some elephant dung.
It was Lulu. You're right. It actually was. That was Lulu.
Not-
You're quite right. So no, that's not the right answer.
No. No. It is something to do.
Come on, don't let me down on this, Dan.
Spacey. No, I can't remember this. Popcorn?
No, I'm just going to check that I'm right, because I don't look completely stupid. I'm pretty sure it's hi-fi.
Hi-fi.
I think it's hi-fi, but I am just going to check to make sure that I'm not giving you completely the right. Hi-fi, yes, it is hi-fi. There we go.
That's
there we
fantastic. Go. That's the first one I've got wrong, or probably the second one I've got wrong.
You've blown it now. You've
I love
lost
the
your
chase
record.
as well. Absolutely love that story. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it's a good. Yeah, it's a good story.
Won't forget that, will we, Rosie?
No, Rosie definitely won't be forgetting the chase.
I forgot to say, in all our hysteria, all our talking about isolation and whatnot, to explain to people exactly what this is all about, in case you haven't seen before, in case you've come to the channel relatively recently. The Type Over 40 videos are our before show, after show, and in between show to everything that we do over on the Type 40 podcast that's on the Fandom Podcast Network. You'll find some links to that in the comments below. Lots and lots of podcasts we've been banging all the way through series 12, episode by episode by episode, and now we're back into classic and other new Who territory. So yeah, but on these videos we pretty much just do what we like. We talk back to you. We talk about merchandise, or we talk about little pet subjects, even drag other people in. Yeah, so that's the general lay of the land. And we've got some messages that some of you have been sending in over the last couple of months. To be fair, I thought it was about time we got round to them, Simon and myself, and see what something might be something for Rosie as well. Let's have a quick look. What is first? While I remember how to do this. Yes, hi Dan. I love Rosie. This is from Yvette.
Hey.
YouTube. Thank you, Yvette. Well, she loves you too. Yeah, it's great to have her back. She's starting to look a little wilted there, as I've said before.
She hasn't got coronavirus, has she?
No. I'm tempted to whack her in the washing machine, but I don't know what I'd do without her. Keeps me going. So yeah, thank you, Yvette.
You could if you did that, if you did stick her in the washing machine, you could kind of recreate the chase yourself, really, couldn't you? You'd sort of see her going round and round and round and round.
You could. You see, I know why Yvette said that, because she is a huge collector of all things Dalek. She's got lots and lots of Daleks, cuddly ones and ceramic ones, action figure ones. So I'm not surprised that you saw that, Yvette. And maybe if we do a Dalek themed show at some point.
That'd be cool.
Get Yvette on, because she does podcasting and live streaming herself. So yeah, hope you're keeping well, Yvette. Thanks for the message. Rosie says thanks too. What else have we got? Yes. So lots of comments about series 12. Yeah, we've just wrapped up with all our reviews over on the podcast, and in the meantime, yeah, we've had comments on that in the Facebook group, but yeah, there's been more here. So starting here from Paul Bryant, all these comments come from YouTube actually this time. Paul says, guys, series 12 has been utter crap. It's good to see you on air again. Keep up the good work. Not much to review in this latest episode, other than Shelley never once uttered the word Frankenstein. The Cybermen still look like a robot and made silly robot noises. They are cyborgs, not robots. But anyways, be well and safe. This is something... Yeah, so this is about 5 weeks ago now since this episode was on, and we talked about this on the podcast, didn't we, Simon? About the Cybermen and about how they are just stomping robot soldiers a lot of the time.
Yes, I got very angry about all of that, particularly in the final episode, where I'm still seething over that. How can the production team so completely misunderstand what a Cyberman is? You can't just take the insides out of a Cyberman and put somebody inside it. That's not how Cybermen work. So I agree with Paul. They are now acting like cyborgs rather than robots. Yeah, they're acting like robots rather than cyborgs, which is what they are.
Because there's a big difference. I don't know. It's interesting that it's sci-fi fans are the ones that always spot this. I don't think the general public are aware that there are cyborgs now, are robots. I don't know, but within Doctor Who, within the fiction, they've always, in previous stories, even in the new series, Simon, which hasn't always got the Cybermen right, they've gone to great lengths sometimes to explain the process and the psychology.
Absolutely. And when you look at the what was it, the Age of Steel and was it Rise of the Cybermen, the David Tennant two-parter that brought the Cybermen back, they went to great lengths in that of driving home to new viewers this idea that Cybermen are cyborgs. And that is the whole point. And that's the whole reason that they're as creepy as they are. They're far creepier than robots would ever be because of that. So to lose sight of that just seems a fundamental mistake to me. But hey, what do I know? I'm not writing the new series.
That what the lone Cyberman, what his idea of sort of the next stage being was as superior was to be actual robots. I mean, we didn't actually talk about that in our review, but that doesn't stand up to close examination either. It's all ridiculous. It's just one more ridiculous thing, but we won't go over it again. But in about a week's time, we're going to be dropping our big review of The Timeless Children. We cover all of that, don't we, Simon, at great length?
Yeah, we do, unfortunately.
Men whose brains are reduced to jelly over the space.
I'm still in therapy for it now, Dan.
Over the space of about 2 hours. The good news is it was worth it. And our episode on The Timeless Children, I can confidently say, is one of the best podcasts that we've ever put together and put out. No hyperbole. It's going to be worth the wait. And it's not all doom and gloom. We do managed to fit in a couple of laughs there too. We can promise you that. Daniel Leach, with the series all wrapped up, Daniel says, I refuse to acknowledge this era. It's not the same show. Doctor Who died in 2017. Strong words here. Strong words for such a young man. Chibnall shows utter contempt for everything that it stood for. So his master plan was to divorce the show from everything. I admit that I'm a younger fan. However, I have taken time to go back and watch Classic Who, as this era has broken my heart. Keep up the great work. Everybody at Type 40, you're awesome. Daniel, you're awesome too. Thank you for the awesome message.
What can we say other than, we agree with everything you said there, Daniel. Spot on.
This is the feeling that it leaves you with, isn't it? We know after we watched The Timeless Children and then we had to go back and talk about it, it just left you feeling sort of washed out and drained of joy.
Yeah.
I know some people, Simon, who actually, even now, 4 or 5 weeks on, have stayed away from Doctor Who. I didn't. I went straight, a week later, to a classic DVD to watch in time lash. What did you do, and how soon did you do it after series 12?
Well, the truth of it is, it certainly left a very, very bad taste in my mouth, and I still have a bad taste in my mouth now to this day. And the only way I've sort of managed, in effect, to get over all that is to literally think of as Daniel says there, Doctor Who has ended for me. That there's a program on television called Doctor Who, but it's not Doctor Who for me. So the only way I can deal with it is just by completely divorcing it. It's nothing to do with Doctor Who. So I go back and watch my classic Who episodes, and I've just started, as probably some of you have also, I've started rewatching the Christopher Eccleston stuff with the Rose screening recently, and so I'm dealing with it by completely ignoring it. It's no longer relevant to me, Dan. That whole Jodie Whittaker era, it's nothing to do with me. It's a different show. Not interested in it.
It is sad. I mean, the thing that I will say, I won't labour this too much because people, we all want to move on with our lives from this 10-week disaster.
Certainly do.
But the way I look at it now, there was a time, wasn't there, where I'd say Doctor Who had come back. It'd been back for a few years. We'd got the big anniversary, which I think any distance that existed between the classic series and the new series was shortened considerably by that anniversary. People who loved either or and had sort of shut down, say a lot of new series fans who hadn't looked at the classic show up to that point really started to give it a lot more time. And then I think there was people as well who had maybe rejected the new series a little when it began, sort of came around to it in 2013. There was this great sort of crossover, and the boundary and the boundary and the tag of classic or new Who, it started to sort of disappear, and Doctor Who was becoming whole again.
Yes, I would agree. It was uniting, literally uniting.
It was, and I think this did carry on into the Peter Capaldi stuff. But since 2018, not only has that boundary between classic and new Who been not only re-established, bolstered, but I think it's actually deepened. I think there's a bigger line between those things now, and there's also a further line. So we've got actually a show that used to be in 2 compartments. It's now in 3. We've got classic Who, we've got new Who, and what I like to call not Who, in everything that's come from 2018 afterwards, because I am yet to see anything where it can truly embrace its legacy and lay proper claim to being the same show featuring the same character. It still feels like some sort of spoof or some sort of spin-off. So yeah, and I certainly, as long as Chris Chibnall's in place, I can see that gap widening even more, Simon.
Well, I mean, and ironically, the truth of it is, what they certainly did in the latter half of the recent series is Chris Chibnall actually used, in effect, the classic series to actually kick his own version of Who as far away as possible. So it's bizarre. He's using the classic series to actually justify and establish himself, his own era, as completely separate from. So it's a weird concept to get your head around how what he's actually trying to do. What does he want to do? Does he want to embrace the classic series and try and unite it and all bring it together, or does he want to just kick himself off and say, no, this is my version of Who, and it's got nothing to do with the classic? It's bizarre. I still can't work out quite what his agenda is.
My nan would have said that he was trying to have his cake and eat it.
Yes, that's exactly what he's trying to do.
It is really that simple. That this is a guy who's just sort of cherry picking. He'll love the fandom when it suits them, and vilify us the next. It can't carry on forever, can it? Yeah.
It'll change at some point. That's one of the beauties of Doctor Who. It is that kind of thing that if it's currently an era that is not working for you, don't worry. There'll be another era along any time now that'll probably kickstart it again, and you will enjoy this time. And that's the beauty of Doctor Who. You can, as a viewer and a fan, you can cherry pick the eras, the stories, the Doctors that you like. It's not all going to work for every one of us. It can't. But there's nothing to be ashamed of in that, in just saying, well, actually, this era just isn't working for me at the moment. Because there'll be another one along soon. There'll be a new showrunner, a new Doctor, and you'll love it again.
Whole new ethos. We keep our fingers crossed for that. Whether the damage that's been done, particularly by the timeless children, that could cast a very, very long shadow. And there are people out there who do feel that it is R.I.P. Doctor Who, and I do understand. I'm very sympathetic to that. I still don't know. I just feel like I've woken up in a bit of a crater with it. But yeah, we're going to carry on talking about Doctor Who here because, as you rightly say, Simon, Doctor Who is more than that. And I owe a huge amount of my restored love to these Blu-ray box sets that we're getting, the official collection of Blu-ray sets from BBC Studios. We're now about 6 or 7 releases in, aren't we? There's another one out in May.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's fair to say my love of classic Who has never waned, but the Blu-ray box sets have just reinvigorated it, if that was even possible, because I do feel that I'm just watching them all with an entirely new light now, and loving them even more than I used to love them. So,
well, anybody who might have seen my earlier video knows that I've just finally added another one to my collection. We'll get onto that in a minute. But yeah, a lot of the messages that we get are about these Blu-rays, Simon. People hear us geeking out and getting quite into the little details of them here. So understandably, they get in touch. And
we love these Blu-rays, don't we? We love them.
But obviously, they can be quite a frustrating thing to try and track down now, as our friend here has found. This is from Not My Doctor Who on YouTube. I'm one of the ones that missed out on the limited edition sets when they started. So now I have the problem of the inflated prices. Because of that, I'm hoping they re-release them all again so I can buy at the right price. Great video, guys. Yeah, this was in response to the last video that we made about the Blu-ray collection. And yeah, this is the problem, isn't it? The whole limited edition thing, and the people. I suppose there are people out there who are buying several copies of them, knowing that they are limited numbers, and then like waiting 2, 3, 4 months, and then selling them on for these inflated prices. Some of the people who are selling them on, Simon, are people who just say, "Oh, well, you know, I can make £300 off this thing that cost me 40 quid." You can see why. You can completely see why. And
I mean, I've spoken about this at length before. I still just don't understand the logic for doing them as limited edition sets. I just love somebody from is it BBC Video that released them? I'd love somebody just to explain to me what the thinking is behind the limited edition sets, because it still seems really unfair to me that people that desperately want these and would love to get them are either missing out on them or then having to pay ridiculous sums of money just to get them. I just don't understand the logic of it. Just please, somebody explain to me why they're doing it. Yeah, don't get it.
As I've said a few times, how can you call something the collection if you can't actually if you can't actually go to the shop and collect it, because there's only the most recent one out there? I don't get it. I mean, it works okay for us who are happy to pre-order them. But yeah, it makes it difficult for some people, and of course, if you miss out on those first couple, then you really are snookered with this, because although they've just had one re-release, I'm seeing no signs. It's very unlikely that the others are going to get re-released, isn't it, Simon?
Well, I don't. It's impossible to say, Dan. Sort of 6 months ago, I kind of was beginning to think that they would never re-release season 12, but they have done now. But the thing is, really, that frustrates me more than anything is that these people that have paid huge prices for, let's say, season 12, it's now been re-released, and so they're going to be gutted. Some people that have literally paid 10 times the price. I saw it going season 12 going for £400. And now you could buy it for £40. It's just not fair on them.
No, it is. I have great sympathy for them, even though it's benefited me in the long run.
Absolutely.
The logic behind it seems to be that with season 12, they originally made very, very few, and they almost doubled the number for the next release, which was season 19, wasn't it? So they wanted to make sure that at the very least there were enough copies in circulation to match all the subsequent releases. That does. I mean, we've only got their word for it. I've never seen any figures on it ever. Talking of which, this is from Darrow20961 on YouTube, and he says the term limited edition is a bit of a misnomer anyway. You could argue any DVD Blu-ray release of anything is a limited edition to some extent. The Doctor Who collection sets are not numbered anyway. That's true, they're not. That is quite odd for something. Yeah, that is quite strange looking back. It isn't like one set says 145 of 5,000 or something. I don't even know how many sets were pressed and put out there. I tried Googling it and got nowhere.
Well, it's interesting that, Darrow. I totally agree with you. This is something I've thought for a long time. How many sets were released? How many sets of season 12 were released? How many of the new sets are being released? Are they increasing them with each release? Are they varying them? Are they assuming that, let's say, Sylvester McCoy is going to sell less than Tom Baker, so they're releasing lesser? I don't know. I'm interested myself. And he's quite right. There is no such thing as a limited edition release that's different from anything else. At some point, with anything, they could just stop producing that particular Blu-ray, DVD, printing a book, whatever it is. Everything's a limited edition.
And they do that all
so
the time.
It just seems odd. It just seems.
Disney have been doing that for decades. Everything.
It just seems an odd way of. Yeah, it just seems an odd way of marketing them, and ultimately, it smacks of I don't know, profiteering really on the BBC's part, and that they're trying to invigorate us and say it's limited edition only, so make sure you go and get it now. And then they run out straight away, and as you say, probably people buy half a dozen sets at a time just purely to flog them then on eBay. So who is this actually helping, this limited edition business?
That's definitely happened with some of the later releases. And of course, I think the season 23 hasn't sold out yet, or season 26. And I think you can still get the season 10, the Pertwee one, but the price is...
No, season 10 is going for a fortune now on eBay.
It's gone well over £100, isn't it?
That's gone, yeah.
Not good. I now have a complete collection, so
Woohoo!
I do feel quite smug. Finally, if you are on my Twitter account or if you're in the Facebook group, you've seen a picture already. But I've taken another one of now my entire collection there, as it should be. There they all are. Yeah, I was even keeping them out of sequence. I was keeping them in release order until I got that one because it was tormenting me too much to have the gap. But yeah, they do look great. But when you see them like this, you realise the depth of the season 18 and season 19 boxes compared to the others. There's so much extra content in those two, isn't there?
And also extra stories, of course, and we've got John Nathan Turner to thank for that, because that was one of the first things he fought for when he got the producership, was to fight for extra episodes. And so that's another reason why 18 and 19 are more bulky than the others. I'm very impressed, Dan. I can see from the photograph that there are 3 box sets there that you haven't even opened yet. How have you resisted the temptation?
I probably wouldn't have opened season 12 yet if it wasn't for the fact there'd been that cock up with the disc art. If you saw the video I put out last week, then you'll have seen my feverish anticipation when I just opened the card envelope to get that set out, just to make sure that there were the right discs in there. Yeah, it was brown adrenaline time, that was.
Yes, because apparently they'd sent out a load of sets early, hadn't they, with season 10 artwork on the discs, which are probably going to be worth even more on eBay now. If anybody's got one of those, they'll be worth a fortune.
I've had 2 people say to me, one guy in particular, who's probably watching this. Hello, Justin. Justin says that he's going to keep hold of his because it'll likely be a collectible in the future.
Absolutely.
With another gentleman who's messaged on the Facebook page. Sorry, I can't remember your name, but yeah, he said exactly the same thing. So it would have got to me. I would have had to have returned mine if I'd have got the wrong artwork. It would have drove me nuts to have to waited another potentially 6 to 8 weeks. Actually, it would probably be.
But how have you managed? I still want to know how you've managed to hold off opening. I can see season 10, season 18, season 26 haven't even been touched. How have you resisted the temptation? I just can't imagine.
With season 18, it could be a while until I open that, actually, because I haven't got any cause to just yet, because I'm coming to the end of a big rewatch of the whole Colin Baker era. I'm about to start the trial season, but the McCoy one will be open very, very soon, because we're going to be talking about one of the features in particular on a future episode of the Type 40 podcast. So that's getting opened. And yeah, I don't know when the John Pertwee one, I intend on watching Pertwee after I'm done with Colin Baker. So most of them will be opened certainly by the end of the year. And there'll be another picture, no doubt.
I'm intrigued. I've only just noticed, now that the first time I'm sort of seeing them all sitting there lined up, I've only just realised, why is it that season 10 is PG rated and all the others are 12 rated? What is it about the other series that are so terrifying that they need to be 12, whereas you can watch season 10 just with your parents there? Interesting.
I don't know. I mean, I do
just intrigued by that.
Stories that got given a 15 rating as well, weren't there?
Very odd that is. I'm just wondering, because I would have thought something like the Green Death is just as horrific as anything in season 12, season 18, etc. Seems odd.
I'd love to know, but I mean, particularly you get to season 23. I mean,
yeah,
that's fairly
what's horrific
marvelous.
in season 23 apart from Colin Baker's coat? Nothing really.
There you go. If you know why these episodes, actually, why season 10, has got a PG rating, why that's been let off, let us know in the comment section. We'd be really keen to know any insight anybody's got about any of that. And I've had some feedback already on my last video. Glad to see another happy face when it comes to Tom Baker's run. Enjoy the season 12. That comes from Chris Persia on YouTube. The wonderful Chris Persia, the man who seems to be everywhere all at the same time. I think he may have I think he may have cloned himself, Chris. He moderates on a lot of live streams and things like that. He's a very, very generous man with his time, very patient too. I intend on enjoying it at some later date, Chris. Thank you for that. And Colin P. Smith has also been in touch. Glad you got the correct discs, Dan. I noticed they seem to have the new logo on the cover. You might be interested to know that the Rabbi was doing some covers with the original logos, which I believe he was intending to make available. Yes, the rabbi, friend of the show, recent Type 40 guest, the wonderful Svila Bitkin, otherwise known as the rabbi. Yeah, he's up to all sorts with making videos and hosting live streams and making artwork too, custom artwork. Simon, does this product annoy you so much that you would, and this is nothing against you, Rabbi, or anybody else who makes fan art, you know, I do that sort of stuff myself. Would you ever chuck the official cases out and print your own sleeves?
No, not at all. I have to be honest. As irritated as I am by the Jodie Whittaker logo on there, and believe me, I am. I think the artwork itself and the packaging is just so beautiful and well put together. No, I wouldn't worry. I still have worries about the integrity of the plastic box that's inside. My season 19 has come away from the backboard. And so I'm slightly concerned about issues like that. But no, I'm perfectly happy. I still have worries though, Dan. I still wonder what they're going to do if they do. At some point, that Jodie Whittaker logo is going to get changed, and undoubtedly it will get changed before we get to the end of these Blu-ray seasons. What are they going to do? Doctor Who fans will go ballistic if you now start putting a completely different logo on subsequent box sets once they change that logo. What do? It was a ridiculous thing to do in the first place.
We know that they don't care. It couldn't be further from their minds.
Gosh, it's ridiculous, isn't it? Don't they know how obsessive Doctor Who fans are?
Exactly. You'd think no, but the thing is, you would think that they would know after all this time. The last lot of people who were in charge of the label, they knew, and that's why we start to get those reversible covers and things like that. But my feeling on it is, I actually don't mind that logo as a piece of design. I think it's okay, but I can think of a lot better, and I would prefer the classic Pertwee TV movie logo that should have remained in place as the default, because it had been in place for so long, and they were still doing lots of interesting things with it for the anniversaries and things like that. It's a timeless design, that is, probably more so than even the diamond logo. And I do see that people are making their own custom sleeves with each individual logo from each era on, and I get that too. I see the value in all of this, and I know there's some really talented artists out there. But ironically, this is the good side, the fact that they make so little new Doctor Who now. We only get 10 episodes of new Doctor Who every year and a half, probably to 2 years before the next series. Whereas all year, Simon, we talk and we grab at these box sets. So now, because of the Blu-ray range and that sort of black version that they use on those, I now associate that logo, that sort of wrought iron logo, much more with the Blu-rays than I do with Jodie Whittaker.
That's really interesting. I wouldn't even have thought of it like that. But actually, you're quite right. And so in a way, I would be miffed if they took it off there now, because you're right. Yeah, I agree. I associate it more with the Blu-ray box sets than I do with Whittaker.
They introduced the logo before Whittaker even appeared on screen, about 5 months before, and that season 12 box set that came out about the June of 2018, something like that.
Yes, it was.
She didn't make her debut for another 4 months. Yeah, as far as I'm concerned.
So actually, it's the logo for the Blu-ray box sets. And in all honesty, as it irritates me as to say that they've used the Jodie Whittaker logo, but I agree with you, as a piece of design on the box sets as they are, to me it works quite well, because those box sets, I like the way that they've been done in quite a minimalistic way with this pale grey look. It's very different to what you would have expected them to do for Doctor Who Blu-rays. You would have imagined them to be dark covers with stars and space and planets on. And I love the fact they've gone the opposite of that into this kind of almost stripped back version. And so actually the logo does actually work quite well in that context.
They look like luxury items, don't they? And that logo, yes, if it was put, I don't think they do use a spot varnish on it, but if it was to be given a spot varnish, it would look really beautiful. They've missed a bit of a trick there. But how they've matched it to the font, I don't like every design choice they've made on there. I think some of the lettering, the way they've got the numbers, the way they've sort of arranged it all, I don't particularly like that, but it does have the feel of a luxury item. And this isn't something that I've made a deliberate choice on either. It's just something that over the months as we've been kind of obsessing about these releases, that's just gradually happened because the makers of the TV show have disenfranchised us.
Yes, you do wonder whether the Blu-ray releases are getting more excitement simply because people feel so let down by the flagship show, and they.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it probably is. Yes, I think it probably is. I think people would have loved the Blu-ray releases anyway, but I think there maybe would have been a more niche market than they are because of the fact that people are crying out for some good quality new Who that they might never have seen before, and so they're investing in these box sets. Because if you catch the box set at the time that it's first released, to buy on Amazon, HMV, Zoom, whoever it is, they're not that expensive. They seem very reasonably priced to me. 38, 40 quid for however many discs, 6, 7, 8 discs. That seems pretty good value to me. And so I think nobody can really complain at 40 quid for what you're getting in those box sets. So I think that's possibly why season 12 was as oversubscribed as it was. People, the BBC was simply not expecting people to grab them quite as much as they did.
They didn't think that people would dip again. That's
no,
why
I think
you're
right
with the features. They didn't think people would.
No, I think you're right. It was very interesting. I remember when season 12 was first released, which was, as you say, that's sort of about 18 months ago now. And I remember reading interviews with some of the team behind it, articles, etc., in various magazines online, and you could tell that there was a feeling from the team behind them, from the marketers, that they genuinely were not certain how this was going to be received. I honestly think, I got the impression that the BBC were almost nervous to release them in case they got vilified for trying to profiteer on selling these back to us again. And they were almost apologising and trying to justify why they'd done it. And of course, ultimately, they didn't need to worry because people just embraced them and didn't need to be sold on them. And I think part of that also comes down to, I think a lot of fans were very sceptical as to whether the picture quality on the Blu-rays would genuinely be good enough to warrant them going on Blu-ray. And of course, and I was nervous, I must be honest. And I'd read so many online things that said, "Oh, they won't look any different because there's only so much you can do with an old recording, so on and so forth." Yeah. But of course, they do look fantastic. They look as good as you are ever going to see them, and they do look markedly better than the DVDs. So they're justified.
And because they were releasing the DVDs came out over a period of about 13, 14 years, didn't they? And so just the process, while they were making that line, the process changed so much. I watched season 19, all the way through on Blu-ray when I got it. And obviously straight after that, because I was doing a big watch through of the Davison era, I went from watching Time Flight to watching Arc of Infinity on DVD. And whoa, what a difference. It really was. And I'd always considered that Arc of Infinity to be a pretty good DVD. But the drop-off in quality, in picture quality, even just in the TARDIS scenes, in the scenes on Gallifrey, the stuff filmed in the studio, it was still noticeably nowhere near. So, yeah, I was won over pretty quick.
And that's putting aside all the extra stuff that you get on there that is way above and beyond the DVD.
I'd pay just for most of these extras. There's at least 3 big features that I think justify the extra cost. There really are. But one thing I had noticed is that around a year ago, this wasn't the BBC actually. I don't think the BBC are involved in this. I'll have to look it up. But the people who make Red Dwarf now, they went back to the original TV episodes of the first 8 series. So the ones that were made and shown on the BBC from 1988 all the way through till 1997, 98. They went back to those, and they were made in pretty much the same way as Doctor Who, weren't they? So there was some location work, but it was mostly done in studio, on videotape, and they repackaged them, remastered them, and put them all together in a big box as the ultimate Blu-ray set. And I watched the Red Dwarf fan base go through and have the same conversations that the Doctor Who fan base had had, say, 2 years before. And so I thought, oh, well, you know, I've just seen how this. So I just listened and watched. I made the odd comment here and there because some minds were very, very closed. Some people were just really, really excited because they hadn't managed to get the other set yet. So, you know, the Red Dwarf set is really cheap. It's about £30 for everything. But when the eventual release happened, Simon, there was masses of problems with it and complaints too, that the standard, the picture quality was nowhere near what allegedly, because I don't own this set, allegedly the picture quality was nowhere near as much of a step up as we're getting with these Doctor Who releases, simply because I'm sure they did their best at Grant Naylor Productions, isn't it? And I can't remember. Is Baby Cows involved in making Red Dwarf now? I'm sure they
Could
did
be.
their
I'm not a big
best
Red Dwarf fan, so
remastering this show to the best of their ability, but they wouldn't have had the services of the Doctor Who restoration team at their disposal. These seasoned professionals and obsessives who have probably done as much work on these box sets for free as they have for being paid. They're labours of love, but labours of love, aren't they, Simon?
they are labours of love. The thing that we've now got to be aware of, you know, starting to get very, very prosaic with this, is that coronavirus, I think, will curb, unfortunately, that breadth of extras. You know, in the current climate, you literally couldn't do something as simple as having Matthew Sweet sitting down with an actor face to face and having one of those in-depth interviews which have been so brilliant on the Blu-rays. You can't do as many making of documentaries. You can't even do behind the sofa. As daft as it sounds, you can't in the current climate make behind the sofa. So we've got to be aware of that, and I'm being careful with what words here, because obviously we've got far more to worry about in coronavirus than whether or not they're going to be able to make behind the sofa. All I'm saying is we have to be aware of that. I think we will now notice. They will obviously have some backed up material that with box sets pretty much ready to go, but I think we have to be aware that we're going to notice a difference in the box sets going forward from this point on. There will definitely be a very clear delineation between box sets finished and created and ready to go before coronavirus and after coronavirus.
I'm not sure whether we would normally know how many releases in advance would we know by now. Do they always keep it under wraps until until one has come out? We only ever know which season is coming next.
Yes, what they normally do is they normally release literally a few days before the one set is due to release. They release the announcement of what the next set will be. So at the moment, we're due to receive season 14, and I can't wait for that one, at the very, very beginning of April. And so traditionally you would expect them to announce towards the end of March what the next box set was going to be. And I know for a fact that they've said themselves that they've got material in advance ready to go for the other ones. So I have a feeling probably the next 2 or 3 releases after season 14 might just about be pretty much in the can, as it were. I just fear after that we might begin to see a tail off of either special features on the sets, or them starting to, that the gaps between the sets are going to get a little wider.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see, won't we? Because
yeah, absolutely.
We have all got other things to worry about, but it's still nice to know when these are the things that are getting people through, aren't they? There's, like I say, I mean, that's been a major highlight to my week, getting that box set this week. It genuinely has. And for other people, not only have we got that released, but this has also been released, Simon. I don't know if you've seen this. The Faceless Ones, the new animation of the Faceless Ones on DVD and Blu-ray on the same day. And I've seen lots and lots of people getting this in the post or picking it up at the shops and dropping us pictures on our social medias and tagging us and whatnot. Lots of excitement there, people opening this up. So have you got this, Simon? Do you collect?
No,
Do you pre-order
no,
them?
no. I have to be honest. I haven't bought it, and this is maybe me being very, very cynical. But I haven't picked it up simply because I know at some point they will get round to releasing the Patrick Troughton box
Yeah.
sets for the seasons in some form or another. So I have to be honest. Sorry, but I'm holding on to my pennies now, and I'm waiting for these until they come out in the box sets. Have
Because they
you
are
got it?
doing 2 a year now, aren't they? So that we're getting through them.
Yeah. Did you pick it up, or are you equally
No,
cynical? And
I haven't quite decided what to do with these because I bought the Power of the Daleks one as a steel
me
book
too.
when it first came out.
Yeah, me
And
too.
I was gonna, with the steelbooks thing, I don't collect steelbooks or anything like that, but I thought, well, I'll get it for this one because I actually thought that they wouldn't make any more. I thought it was, or that it was worth getting behind. I pre-ordered that when it came out. The idea was that if I got behind it and did my bit, then at least I gave the product the best fighting chance at kicking off a whole line of productions, which is what's happened eventually. So yeah, I did buy the Power of the Daleks, but I haven't bought the other ones yet and this is typical me. This is typical Hadley because I'm not really sure what format to go for. I enjoyed the Power of the Daleks one, but I wasn't as impressed as I had been with things like the Invasion as animations. I thought it was, it's better than not having it at all. I really appreciate everything that's gone into it, but should I get it on Blu-ray? Should I get it on DVD? I'm certainly not going to buy the steelbooks. They're like 30, 35 pounds for a steelbook of this, which I think is, no matter how pretty the steelbook is, I think that's extortionate, to be truthful. I understand why they price them that high. They are expensive to produce, relatively speaking. Yeah, so I'm still umming and ahhing about how to carry on with these, but I don't with the Blu-ray sets. You've said this to me before, actually. Now I think about it, that you weren't buying them. And I'm always a little bit surprised because to me, it's not part of the same range, if you know what I mean. And yet I know that the BBC are absolutely making these as their default versions of these stories. They absolutely say, see it the same way you do. And I am absolutely convinced there will be a box set with all of these in that will match all the others. But for me, it's not the original production. It's the original soundtrack, but this is a completely new production and product. And so there's people losing their cool about various choices that have been made in them. And the idea that they've removed a scene from one story in particular that they've animated altogether, they've just not bothered animating it from the Macra Terror, isn't it?
The Macra, yeah, they took out it's not a key scene, but it's a well-loved scene that they just took out completely because they said they didn't have time to do it. And again, yeah, I sympathise with that. Mm-hmm. But it does, as you quite rightly say, Dan, it then means that this is an entirely new production because you're not even getting the full version of it anyway. And that's not to decry. I realise that there's a lot of work goes into animation, so I'm not decrying that decision at all. But it does then leave you feeling, how much do I want to buy into this version of it? In many ways, I would probably prefer just to have a really good telesnaps reconstruction where they've just used what telesnaps are available, what publicity images are available, and you just marry those up to the soundtrack, because then that's about as true as you can get, unlike the animations, which absolutely is somebody's interpretation of what it might have looked like.
And I don't mind them interpreting, for example, when they don't know what somebody's costume looked like. I don't mind them, kind of like Andrew Ireland did with Mission to the Unknown last year, when he didn't know what kind of gun somebody was carrying. He designed something that was fairly likely to have been the case. And I don't mind things like that, calls like that with this. But when they pick and choose which sequences to animate or not, which to leave out or not, for me, that only reinforced and underlined that point even more so. And because it's a whole new line of productions, I therefore don't feel any great yearning to put them in there, slide them into my DVDs where they would be in the collection there. For me, this is a separate collection, just the same way as I've got the Peter Cushing movies separate, just the same way as I've got the Mythmakers stuff separate. So yeah, it's I love the fact that they're being made, and I am supporting them.
Yeah, so do I. I applaud them for doing it.
But yeah, people have been saying to me, "Oh, but you can do this. You can reverse the sleeve and slot it into your collection, and it looks beautiful, and it all fits in." And yeah, I'm not saying that my way is the right way. I totally get why if you do that, if you reverse the sleeve and you consider it part of the collection, I get why. But for me, no, I would rather have it with the current era logo, because it matches the new artwork that's been created. You know, you see it in the old template there, and it looks like design compromise there. You know, you're missing a lot of part of the head of the chameleon in the background and things like that. You know, it's yeah, that's my feeling about it. Somebody asked me about that this morning in the Type 40 Facebook group, so I wanted to get round to that too. And I would imagine, Simon, they will all be animated eventually, and they will be a handsome collection in their own right.
Yeah, I suspect so. And as I say, I will definitely be interested to look at them. So it's not something that I'm totally rejecting and saying, no, you shouldn't be doing this. No, absolutely brilliant. As I say, take my hat off to them. Well done for doing them. I'm afraid I'm just not dipping my toe into it now until they undoubtedly all come out in the box sets. So you know, good luck to people that want to buy them now. I'm fine. I can wait a little longer to see the faceless ones, if truth be known.
So we've got the Macroterrors coming out in a few months' time, isn't it? That's the what's that been out? I can't. This is the third.
No, the Macroterror is the one that's come out. Fury from the Deep's coming
Fury
out
from the
soon.
Deep, sorry, yes.
Fury from the Deep. And I have to be honest, actually, Fury from the Deep, if of all of them, that might be the one. I'll probably still hold off and wait for the box set, but that might be the one that might make me buck the trend and buy it, because I've been so desperate to see Fury from the Deep and Marco Polo are the two stories at the absolute top of my want to see list. Those two, if I could only choose two stories to see, those would be the two that I would choose. So I might break my own rule and buy Fury from the Deep, purely because I am desperate to see that one, I have to say.
Well, if you do, let me know. I'll get it on pre-order. I'll make my decision about which format I'm going to actually to collect. Because if that Blu-ray set's coming, then I may as well get the DVD. Yes, I'll decide which one I'm going to get, and we'll review it on the show.
Okay.
All the other things
You're
we
on.
can talk about, because there are other releases coming as well that are very exciting, that we're going to drop into the Type 40 schedule later in 2020. It's going to be fantastic. Who needs new Doctor Who on the telly? Who needs all that anxiety and disappointment, Simon? And sexism and misandry? Who needs it?
None of us. Why give yourself the grief of watching the Timeless Children and make yourself upset? Just watch some brilliant Doctor Who that you love watching, instead of wasting your time watching stuff that you don't like watching. That's what I say.
Here's the disclaimer. If you do enjoy the Jodie Whittaker era, fair play to you.
Brilliant. I'm made up for you. If you're enjoying it, you go and watch it. Fantastic.
That about wraps it up this time, I think, my friend.
Is that it? Are we done?
Time flies when you're having fun, doesn't it? But yeah.
Do you want one last question?
Oh, go on then. Go on, I'll get you on.
Right, okay then. Okay. I think you might get this one. 2 Fourth Doctor stories with the word death in their title achieved the 2 largest British TV audience ratings. What were they? 2 Fourth Doctor stories with the word death in their title achieved the 2 largest British TV audience ratings. What were they?
Well, one of them was City of Death.
One of them was indeed City of Death.
And what's the second one?
I've got to think myself. I haven't looked at the answer yet. One is City of Death. One is City of Death.
They're both Fourth Doctor stories.
Both Fourth Doctor stories. Gosh, we stumped on this. I honestly haven't looked at the answer yet. City of Death, obviously. Oh, I know what it is. Robots of Death.
Yeah, so do I. It's the Robots of Death, isn't it?
Robots of Death. Yeah, Robots of Death. Yeah, I can't remember. I think it's one particular episode in that it's like about 13 or 14 million viewers that Robots of Death got. I mean, you can only but dream of those kind of figures today, can't you? And the truth of it is, what's nice about that is Robots of Death and City of Death are 2 of the best Tom Baker stories in my estimation. So it's correct that they should get such high viewing figures. Entirely
justified, isn't it, Rose?
Absolutely.
Even though there's no Daleks in them, she agrees with all of that.
Sorry, Rosie. Sorry.
Here we are. In what year did the Daleks first appear in Doctor Who?
It's a tricky one. What could it be? I think it could well be the very tail end. I'm right. Actually, I could fall foul here. I'm right in thinking it's the tail end of '63, isn't it, rather than the beginning of '64?
They snuck in. They snuck in at the end, I think, didn't they?
Just at the end of
Yeah.
'63, the very,
Yeah.
very, very end of '63.
Yeah,
I'm sure
63.
that was. Thank you. Whoa! Can you imagine if I got that wrong? Can you imagine if it was
somebody
64 and I
somebody
got
would
that
have
wrong?
commented.
I know.
Speak, can't lie. There you go.
There it is, 1963. First episode of the Dead Planet, just before.
If it's on
I
the
don't know if it's
card.
just before Christmas or just before New Year, round about that time anyway. Thank goodness I got that right.
Thank goodness we're all in the clear. It's me that needs to step up my game this time. I need to swat up more on my 1960s Doctor Who, don't I? I've got a couple of blind spots. I didn't think that was one. Managed to get that in there. Right, well, yeah. Thanks for your company, Simon. Tell people where they can find you again. What's the name of your group on Facebook?
Yeah, they can come and find me on Facebook under Doctor Who, the Hoonatics. Come and join in there. You know, we're all in this together with coronavirus. So come and say hello. Let's start getting some active stuff going on Facebook and social media.
Because that's where this name, the Hoonatics, comes from. That's where Simon founded that in 1987, didn't you?
Absolutely, 1987. So it's been going quite a long time, and now, yeah, enjoying your second life on Facebook. So come and say hello there.
If the Hoonatics was the village and the prisoner, you'd be number one, wouldn't you? Or would you be number two? Would you rather be number two?
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm going with number one. Does that make you number 6?
I think.
Or are you not a number? Are you a free man?
I'm not. I'd be the guy who roams around with the bald head and the overalls on, doing the shrug. That's who I'd be. Thanks again for listening to all our stuff and nonsense. We do hope that's whiled away an hour or so of your time, taking your mind off things a little and focused on something a bit nicer, shiny discs and Doctor Who, and or both. If you like, you can like, subscribe, and share, and watch out for more videos, because we are making them more regularly now that we've recovered our love of Doctor Who from the wreckage that served us over 10 weeks. We've crawled out from underneath that, and we're making more and more videos. We're going to see who else we can rope in over the next few months. Don't miss the Type 40 podcast. All you people out there who stick to YouTube and you don't stray into the podcast land, you don't know what you're missing out on. This is the best and the only proper free speech Doctor Who podcast out there. It's unmissable, even if I say so myself. And yeah, our Timeless Children review drops very, very soon. Watch out for that, with lots more planned, lots of treats from classic Who and new Who. Not so much not Who. Thanks again. Catch you again soon. Bye-bye.